Hey YouTube, so based on the last video that I just posted about depression, anxiety, panic attacks, sounds like there's a lot of us that are dealing with these kind of issues. So I'm not going to dedicate a large chunk of this channel to talking about those issues, but I will talk about them here and there because I'm finding out that I was definitely not alone going through what I went through, and definitely from the comments, I mean, you guys are definitely not alone either. So that's really I'm sorry some of you might be in that sort of position right now, but we'll definitely talk more about that, and I will share as much as I possibly can about what got me through some of the tougher times of my life. So hopefully we can, inspire each other and help each other out, because nobody wants to go through this stuff. It sucks. Let's just be honest, right? But that's not the point of today's video. Today's video, I want to talk about the nature of super fast deadlines in the licensing business. In the last week in the syndicate, we've had two 24-hour licensing opportunities. One was for an international commercial, big time. This is a huge opportunity for us. The second one was a national commercial, so it's in the US. Still a really big opportunity. Now, I can't divulge what the companies were or what it was for. That's all confidential, and we don't share that information when we're kind of pitching for our clients. But it was a situation where I realized, sometimes in the industry, you are working on putting together an album, and you're going to submit maybe 12 songs, 15 songs to a library. And other times, you'll get an offer that just comes right into your inbox, and it's like, hey, can you get this done for me tomorrow at 5 p.m.? And that's literally what's going on right now. You guys are watching this video later, but today, right now, it's actually Sunday, and we have a deadline coming up in a few hours. I've composed actually 2 cues for this commercial, and my members right now are just going nuts, and we're having a lot of fun. Obviously, it's the weekend, and everybody has a little bit more free time, so we're having a great time. But it's one of those situations where you want to, and it's an old cliche, and if you haven't heard it, it's a very wise one, is stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Right? Just be ready at all times so you don't have to worry about, okay, now you need this, so I have to go maybe get a different library, or I have to and find some new sounds, or I have to go do this. When you get an opportunity and it's like, hey, we need something like this, you want to make sure that you're ready to go and you're prepared for something like that, okay? So no matter what the genre is, you want to make sure that you're stable and ready. And what I do recommend is that you have a good array of probably all instruments at your disposal. So it doesn't matter if you're a rock producer or a hip hop producer or whatever. You probably want to have a good range of sounds that can kind of cross blend into multiple genres, right? And the first thing for sure you want to have is those like timeless elements like orchestral libraries, strings, piano, horns, woodwinds, orchestral instruments, percussion, big marching snare drums, big crashes, all that kind of stuff. So you want to have a good array of really high quality sounding libraries so that if an opportunity comes across your path, you're not sitting there stuck with just really bad sounding samples that you haven't really used, and you don't really know how they work, and you haven't really dug into your sort of sample crate yet, your sample library, and then you're doing that while you have a deadline looming over you. That's not the time to be doing that. So what I do recommend for all of you guys when you're getting started is it might feel slow in the beginning because maybe you're not getting a lot of offers, maybe you haven't secured a deal with a library yet. I totally get it. You think that like, okay, I'll just keep improving and keep cranking up tracks and keep working on my craft. But even when you get to the point where, let's say you have an opportunity, you have, let's say, a licensing agreement with a library and they're looking for music, but there might be a time where they go a little bit cold on you and there's just not a lot of requests and they're not looking for anything in particular and you're kind of just twiddling your thumbs. Well, that's the time that you should be really investing and improving your sound quality and working on your production skills. And especially for some of the gigs that we're doing right now, they're sending us files of the commercials that we're supposed to be scoring to. Now, you don't have to wait for an opportunity like that to practice that. You can literally go find a commercial that you can get the source video file somehow online. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. You could probably figure out how to do that yourself. Mute the audio and try to score something to video and try to like get that under your belt and practice that. Give yourself a deadline. Say like, hey, I'm going to try to do something within the next 24 hours and see if you can knock out a really cool thing. That's what practice is. That's what that's what getting ready is all about. So that when the next opportunity does come, and let's say things just start piling in, like right now in the syndicate, we are booked. Like it was, not the most busy like October, but when November came, it was bam, 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 bam. Just a whole bunch of stuff is coming through our door right now, which is great. I'm never complaining about having a lot of great stuff and a lot of opportunities come through. But the thing is that, you know, I always think this as when I'm talking to the syndicate members and I'm saying, hey, you know, this is the time to just perform. Like the time to get ready and prepare for this was last week and the week before. But I'm also realizing that, like, you know, I've got 10 years in this business, so I've been through this situation so many times that I get excited, of course, when I get an opportunity, but it doesn't stress me out to the point of like, oh my gosh, where's all my stuff and how do I do this? I know where everything is. I know where my sounds are. I have everything ready to go. So I have this sort of prepared attitude and mindset for when these gigs come through the door. But dealing with tight deadlines and quick turnaround times is just a part of this business. And the reason why you got to get used to it is because if you have somebody you're working with and they come to you and say, hey, you know, please help us out. Like we had music for this opportunity, but it's not quite working. Can you give us something maybe different? And you can deliver to them in a really short amount of time. Guess who goes to the front of the line for all of their opportunities from now on? You're going to be that person. Okay. So that's why we are dedicating our entire weekend, this weekend, to this opportunity right now, because we want to be those people that you realize and you remember, man, that Jesse guy and all of those writers he's working with, like they came through for us. Like when we really needed something within 24 hours, they came through with all these great options, highly professional, well produced, well mixed, well mastered, hit the emotional tones we wanted, hit the key points in these commercials. We want to be just knocking their socks off, completely overwhelming them with value. So that's why it's so important to do that. You got to remember that you have a brand in this industry. Your name, or if you have a producer name, is a brand. Your email address is part of your brand. So if you're sending music to people and your music is subpar, the samples you're using aren't great, you're delivering late, you're not following directions, well, guess what? Your brand is sinking, right? People will get an email from you in the future and go, yeah, that's that guy that doesn't really give us what we need. His tracks don't sound that great. He doesn't really pay attention to the deadlines or the requirements. So they might literally not even listen to your music if your brand starts to suffer that poorly. So treat your brand professionally, right? You want to do this for real? You really want to do this full time? Treat yourself like a business person as if you were a company facing the public. If you were a company facing the public, how much do you care about how people perceive you in the public? How much do you care about what the general public feels about your brand and your products and your services? It's your lifeblood. You really do care about what people think about you and how professional you are, okay? So just a little bit of advice there to just really take yourself and your brand seriously in this business and prepare now. Don't wait for opportunities to show up on your doorstep to get ready for that stuff. Just make sure you understand where your samples are. If you need to, if you're lacking something, if you find like, man, I just never really have great sounding strings, stop this video right now and go research finding great strings. I recommend stuff that comes or that you can get for Contact 5. Contact 5 is typically my go-to thing. There's a lot of string libraries out there. You can find which one you think sounds best, which one you can afford. There's obviously different price ranges and all that kind of stuff. That's what I recommend you go for, but go with whatever you feel you need to do. Some people worry like, well, you know, it's a lot of money and I don't know. It's like, well, all right, well, how serious do you want to do this? I mean, if you want this to be your full-time gig and this was your business you were operating, would you just say, it's too expensive, whatever, I'll use these crappy strings? Or would you go save every single month until you could afford the better strings so that now you have something much better? Right? You got to start. It's choices and consequences. That's really all it comes down to. You got to make the right choices moving forward. So that's all I got to say tonight. Today. It's almost tonight. Thank you guys so much. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned. A lot of great content is coming up on this channel very soon.